Hello, Dover. This is Steve.
Hi, Steve. Welcome to the call.
Thank you.
Hey, Dover, this is Ron.
Hi, Ron. Welcome.
Yeah.
All right. And I've got a minute past the top of the hour, so we'll take last second introductions. Anyone else want to say hello if you've not already had the opportunity to do so? This is the Enriching Gifts Education call. All right. I'll take that silence as everyone's here and has said hello to us. So I want to say hello and welcome. My name is Dover here in Washington State, here with you each and every week to be the co-host to Mr. Ron Schneider, who's here with us each and every week. Very, very fortunate as he shares so much with us. Not quite sure where we're going this week, but I know it's going to be amazing stuff. And it's really those of you that listen to these calls live and watch them on the website and online that really make this a go for us. So with that being said, Ron, welcome to the call. Great to have you here, brother.
Yeah, appreciate it. And I really didn't have a whole lot of content for the call this week. Mainly kind of came on here. Just wanted to remind everybody we just redid all the products, went through 1 week, 1 week, 1 week, 1 week. So those are all archived on the website, all updated new as of last week. And really didn't have a whole lot of anything I wanted to talk about on the call tonight. Just kind of came here to see if we had anybody new or if anybody had any health questions, disease issues, illnesses, any of that kind of stuff, or even anybody wants to talk about COVID or have any questions about that, because I'm about done with that whole conversation. But so, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at this week. We really don't have a lot for this week. Anybody have any questions regarding illness, health, disease, any of the product questions? Anybody? Are we open for live conferencing, Dover?
We are. I think we have a shy group tonight, but please don't be shy. Ask your question.
Ron?
Anybody have? Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, this is Sandra from Houston.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good.
A friend of mine collapsed and has multiple blood clots on his lungs.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's the worst place to get him in the lungs. Wow.
Well,
I'm assuming he's probably hospitalized.
He was in the hospital just overnight. They sent him home, but he can barely breathe.
Yeah, and he's on all kinds of blood thinners and anticoagulants, and he's got a lot of drug stuff going on.
Yes.
Well, unfortunately, I dealt with a lot of this through my older brother. He had the same thing, and, those kind of clots can kill you very easily if they get enough of them. They're all small. They're spread throughout the entire lung tissue normally. And the only thing I can tell you is the enzymes would help a lot, but they're not going to help in the immediate, next week, because just get them on enzymes and make sure that they stays on enzymes every meal. And the longer you're on enzymes, the thinner your blood's going to become, and you can get rid of those blood clots without actually having Plavix and Coumadin and some of those medically prescribed blood thinning drugs. And, by just taking the enzymes, they'll actually clean up all the immune complexes and the poorly digested protein that's limiting the amount of oxygen that's in the bloodstream. It's not because it's not coming through the lungs. It's just not able to be freed up from your red blood cells to where your red blood cells are capturing oxygen. And so that's part of what's making it really, really hard to breathe, is his red blood cells are all coagulated together and there's no surface area for oxygen in the lung.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's kind of like I've been able to help a lot of people with COPD, which is a severe inflammatory condition of the lungs. And I'm trying to think of the other one. There was a gal out in Nebraska. Her mom, she had I'll think of it in a second. It's a smoker's condition. Emphysema, there you go. And she had really, really bad destroyed lung tissue, inner lining tissue destruction, all that stuff. And we were able to get her off her meds before she passed away. And she was able to do that in about 4 years. And she passed away about 9 years later after we started her on that. So it does work. I would tell you the enzymes as well as the antioxidants, the heart algae, those would be the two I'd use for any kind of a lung condition or oxygenation problem or anything like that. And that's where you start. You go do that for a couple of months, and then you can always throw in the Aloe Max to speed up the whole process of recovery. But you want to start with the enzymes and the heart algae first. Heart algae is a real high antioxidant, so that'll protect the lung tissue from any kind of oxidative or chemical exposure deterioration. And then the enzymes, they're going to clean up the blood as well as separate the red blood cells, so you have a good full surface area to absorb and pick up and transport oxygen into your body from your lung tissue, regardless of the clots. And the clots will eventually go away because of the natural thinning effect that all protease enzymes have on the bloodstream. But again, we're talking months, not a couple weeks or anything like that to really see any significant difference. And always, always, always start very slowly on the enzymes. The heart algae, the aloe, you can start 4 capsules a day, no problem. But the enzymes, you're definitely going to want to start with 1 capsule for each meal of the day for the first couple weeks, and don't do any more than that. And you always take enzymes before you eat the meal, not after or during the meal. Always take it just before you start chewing food. And that would actually help him a lot. But like I said, it's nothing going to be life-changing in the next 2-3 weeks. I mean, it's a long process, but it'll really help a lot in the long run. So does that help you out?
Yes, thank you so much. I will
Okay.
get him started on that. Appreciate it.
Okay, you're very welcome. Anybody else have any questions, comments for the call tonight? Anybody? No. Well, and I am going to say something too, Dover. I don't know how you feel about, or if you want to continue calls during the summertime, but I'm of the thought process. We normally right before Memorial Day, the Wednesday before Memorial Day, we usually just stop doing the conference calls for the summer, and then the Wednesday right after Labor Day is usually when we start doing conference calls again. And I think I'm going to do that this summer as well, because there's so many archived calls that if people wanted information, they could go to the website and go through the archives and those kind of things. So that's one thing I'm just thinking about here. It is April, and boy, June will be here before we know it. And
Sure.
so I just want to kind of throw that out to everybody, and that's kind of my plan for the summer. So I've got an extremely busy summer again this year.
Understood. Makes sense to me, and
Yeah.
absolutely, I'll talk with you
Yeah.
about that over the next week, and then we'll make an announcement, get it on the website
Okay.
accordingly.
Sure. Okay. All right. Well, that's really about all I had for tonight's call. Everybody okay with COVID? No COVID questions? No vaccine questions? Any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, Ron Van, trying to find out that they said there's
Yeah.
supposed to be some new COVID thing coming through Brazil, South America, through our borders, and they're just transplanting all these idiots all over the place. I mean, is there a protocol that we can do out here to do our best to keep this thing from making us collapse?
Well, yeah. And in fact, I just refunded a gal's money. I can't remember where she was from, but she kind of called and was upset because she caught COVID. And I said, you know what? I've never ever said my product is going to guarantee nobody will ever catch a cold or a flu or COVID or anything else. I'm just saying I can absolutely guarantee everybody that the most effective thing you can do to protect yourself is strengthen your immune system. And nothing is going to strengthen your immune system better than our enzymes, our Steromax, and our probiotics. In fact, the Steromax will dramatically not only increase the efficiency of functioning of your immune system cells by up to 759% increased overall efficiency, but you'll actually regrow human cells that are 5 to 6 times larger than they are in your body right now today. So that's the way you do and protect yourself. You strengthen your immune system. And you don't have to change your diet and all that other stuff, but you do have to take enzymes because it's one thing. The Steromax will enlarge your cells. It'll increase the nucleus material that your cell functions with. It'll do all of that stuff. But the minute you put those cells in a polluted bloodstream with all the sticky, poorly digested mucus protein from your meat source meals, your immune system becomes ineffective. And that's the problem that gal had. Nobody's adjusting their diet. Nobody's on the enzymes. She just wanted to focus on the Steromax. And you know, you got to spend a little money. It's a system. It's not one single product. Nothing is. You can't go out and just buy one product or eat a carrot or a tomato or anything. You have to have a balanced diet. And it's the same thing. You have to have balanced nutrients in order to support not only the immune system, but a real efficient functioning human body. So the protocol for your immune system to really get as strong and healthy as you can possibly make it is the enzymes, the Steromax, that actually addresses the size and the efficiency of functioning of all immune system cells, and then the probiotics, and then the Aloe Max. What's the other one? There's 5 of them. I forgot one. Enzymes, Steromax, probiotics. Oh, the Metabolic Complete. The Metabolic Complete, and then the Aloe Max. And those are the 5 that I've been telling everybody about for the immune system. And if you can't afford all 5, definitely do the enzymes, the Steromax, and the probiotics. Do as much as you can for the digestion. Make sure that none of your food or your other nutrients become immune complexes that are going to inhibit the immune system's ability to function once it's enlarged and it has all that capacity to it. I can't say enough about keeping the bloodstream clean. That is the biggest thing, and that's all going to come down to digestive enzymes and probiotics. Keep a healthy GI tract so your body can absorb nutrients properly. Keep the bloodstream clean, oxygenated, and flowing so your body functions in a capacity that can benefit and use those nutrients very efficiently. And that's the key to a healthy, disease-free body. And that's I don't take the shots. I'll never take the COVID shot. I'm not afraid of it. In fact, I'm pretty sure I actually had it for about 3 months because I had some strenuous whopping headaches that just would not go away. They didn't let up either. They were as bad as migraines, and I've never had a headache in my whole life. Even a hangover, and I used to drink a lot in my late teens and early 20s, and I didn't even have headaches from hangovers. And I could go out and tie some on pretty good. I woke up in a ditch one time about 30 miles outside of town and had no idea how I got there. So, but I've just never been one for headaches. And I had really, really bad headaches for about 3 weeks this last summer. And the people that came up to help me finish out my garage, they actually had COVID. They were diagnosed as COVID positive and stuff. So, but I'm not worried. I'm not worried about diseases or colds or flus or viruses or COVID or any of that stuff. I mean, I've never had a cold or a flu in over 30 some years. April 23rd, 1984 was the last time I actually had a cold or a flu. And that's been well over 35 years ago. So there are things you can do, but, you know, I'm not going to guarantee anybody that they're not going to catch a cold or a COVID or anything like that. All I'm saying is I can guarantee you that we've got the best immune builder that the human body could possibly ever get in contact with. And it's all clinical trial studied, proven. We used the same protocol for the HIV/AIDS epidemic in the mid-90s over in Nigeria, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Ghana, South Africa. We were in 11 countries just getting rid of the progression of HIV and AIDS with this protocol and this product line. It's the exact same formulas I've been using for the last 30 years. Nothing has changed. And it works extremely well. Most people will tell you, gee, I don't even get a cold anymore. I haven't been sick at all this winter or this summer, and da-da-da-da-da. So hopefully that helps you out and answers your question. I'm really bad about giving long answers, but I like to be thorough as much as I can.
Thank you much for that one.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for the call tonight? Anybody?
Hi, Ron. James here, Ron.
Hey, how are you, buddy? Down under. Yeah.
It is. I'm terrific. Thanks for asking. Ron, I want to ask you about vitamin D. If if a person goes and gets a blood test for vitamin D, and let's say that the vitamin D level is adequate, is it necessary to be taking more vitamin D than necessary apart from going out into the sun and getting injections?
Well, you got it right. And like I said, that's a great question, James. Really, really good. Do I need to take it if my blood levels are okay? And if you're getting enough sun? Your body makes vitamin D3, not just vitamin D, but specifically D3. Your body converts LDL cholesterol, that so-called bad cholesterol doctors are always raving about, contributing to heart attacks, strokes, and coronary disease. It's a bunch of crap. That's a perfect example. You cannot utilize calcium. You cannot manage bodily pH at all without vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 is the horse that carries calcium to the cell. You can absorb calcium, but the cells can't benefit from the use of calcium without vitamin D. Vitamin D chelates to calcium and carries it into the cell for cell functioning. So, and if you, like I said, if you're exposed and got a decent amount of sun and your body's healthy, your body should actually have enough LDL cholesterol to where it converts that into vitamin D3. And that's what your body does naturally if you're exposed to sun and you're outside even a little bit. And the other problem with all of that stuff is when you go on the Lipitor, Crestor, or statin drugs, they're going to lower your LDL cholesterol. A lot of people have a real hard time even manufacturing D3. So they're severely deficient and they got all these hormonal and thyroid problems and issues because of vitamin D3 deficiency, because they're on statin drugs, they're on blood thinners and statins, and the LDL cholesterol is forced to be so low that your body doesn't have the ability to convert LDL cholesterol into D3. So your body's all screwed up. Your pH is way off, your whole bodily function's all messed up. So if you have adequate amounts of D in a blood test and you actually spending some time out in the sun and stuff, and you're using our enzymes, should have no problems with vitamin D3.
Okay, great.
Okay. All righty. Good question, though. I'm really glad you asked that.
Yeah,
so
thanks,
be
Ron.
careful on how low that they get you down with those statin drugs, because again, rather than get on a statin if your LDL cholesterol is too high, well, what's high? LDL cholesterol being high is always relative to HDL, your non-oxidizing or non-hardening cholesterol. So rather than try to lower your LDL, raise up your HDL. Then the ratios become in line, and you don't have to be taking a drug to reduce LDL at all and become deficient in your body's ability to manage pH and utilize calcium. Calcium is the most widely used mineral in the human body. Over 432 enzymatic actions are used with calcium. The most widely used mineral or nutrient in the human body. So it's essential that you have the ability to utilize that. Magnesium in proper ratios helps calcium to be absorbed to the body. And they do that through a chelation process most of the time in the GI tract. And even calcium is only absorbed in a very narrow pH, and it's acidic, believe it or not. It's about a 5.5 to a 6.8. And anything outside of that pH, it will not absorb in an alkaline pH, by the way. So if your body's running highly alkaline, you're not going to absorb calcium. It's only absorbed in that slightly acidic, that 6.4 or 5.5 to 6.8. That's your pH range. It's barely beyond one single pH point. So really important for everybody to know that too. That's why when you take calcium, I tell people always take it about a half hour after you've eaten your meal, because your body's already acidic from the meal, especially if it has protein in it. And that's the best time to absorb calcium, is about a half hour after you've done eating a meal. Your body's already acidic. It just absorbs right up there. And you're right about in that transition where you're starting to go from that lower 4 and 5 pH up into your 6s and 7s. That's about 45 minutes after you've consumed a meal. That transition starts to change. So, and you should never take it just before you eat your meal with enzymes. Calcium neutralizes acids. You need acids in order to activate the protease enzymes your pancreas is producing to digest your proteins, because hydrochloric acid, again, doesn't digest any meat tissue whatsoever, or even protein. It just won't It just won't. Otherwise, it would digest our body to pieces as well. So,
Okay. So Ron, just the second part to you mentioned calcium. I mean, the same rule applies to as you've just said with vitamin D. So if your calcium levels from a blood test indicates that you have adequate calcium, is it not? It's not necessary to be taking calcium supplement.
No, not really. No. I mean, so it all depends on your individual needs and the way your body is carried, your genetic makeup. That does make a big difference. I mean, keep in mind a blood test is what's normal. There's a lot of people that need a lot more calcium because of what they do, their activity levels, their sweating, the environment that they're in, drinking pop, the meals consumption that they use, eating frequently high protein foods going to create a lot of acidity. The only thing neutralizes acidity is calcium. So, you know, when you start talking about blood tests, remember those are all normals. This is the normal range. But again,
Yep.
who's in that? Who are they testing on to get that normal range? A sick society. So, and again, those are RDA minimums that almost all blood tests are measured against as recommended daily allowances, which is far less than what the optimal amount is. So like I said, if you're taking like the coral calcium, you can take a lot of it and you're never going to have it slough into the body where your body's going to build up. It'll build up in your joints, calcify and cause all kinds of spur problems and stuff. You're never going to have that with coral calcium because your body will use what it needs and just sloughs off the rest of it and passes it out through urine usually.
Okay.
It's the poor sources of calcium, like calcium carbonate, calcium nitrate, those kind of calciums that have a real potential of building up in your body and causing problems long term.
Okay, great. Thanks again.
Yeah. But usually as long as everything is good in your blood test and stuff, and normally for not too active person, just the normal person that kind of has a desk job or something like that, those blood test normals, that's okay. But like I said, you really have to think about who you are as an individual, what's your environment, what's your activity like, so on and so forth. So.
Okay, fantastic.
All righty. Anybody else have any last minute questions? Anybody?
Yeah, Ron Van and Veronica again out here in Arizona. I got some folks that are talking about they got pains. I don't know if it's arthritis or muscles or what have you. They're ask Ron what can they take of supplement wise that can help them out with their issues.
Well, what is the pain in the joint? Is it a dull pain, an achy pain, a sharp like a knife or a pin? Where's it at, and what kind of pain is it?
Back, elbow, neck. Say they're sharp and sometimes throbbing. They said.
Back, elbow, and neck. Okay, well that sounds like that could be uric acid. Doesn't even have to be arthritis. You know, here's what I want everybody to do. And while you're on the phone, even just take the time out to just do this. Everybody, hold your chin up high, kind of not look at the ceiling, but just kind of stretch your chin and your neck and hold your chin up a little bit high. And then I want you to sit there and turn your head very slowly, left to right and back again, as far over to the shoulder as you can to your left, and then far over your shoulder to the right as you can. And I want you to listen for that crunch, crunch, grinding sound.
Okay.
Can anybody hear that?
Yeah, she can hear it. She says.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's uric acid in your neck joints and in your vertebrae. That's what that grinding crunch is. It's not bone on bone. This is uric acid in your actual joints. And what it's going to lead to is gouty arthritis, which is another form of arthritis, but it's caused by excessive oxidized uric acid crystals building up in your joints. And that's where most people, when you get it in the back of your shoulders, like you were saying, and in your neck, that's because of too much protein and your protein's not digested properly, And that byproduct from protein digestion that every human being on the planet of Earth produces, called uric acid purine, uric acid is oxidizing into a crystal form, like a broken piece of glass, and it's actually building up in your joints. And that's what creates severe inflammation. In fact, you'll not only get gouty arthritis, but the more severe form of gouty arthritis is called inflammatory joint disease. And that is extremely painful. It gets to the point where it's almost like rheumatoid. You can't even move the joint. It's such inflammation and swelling, there is no room to move. And that's called inflammatory joint disease. And that's really excessive gouty arthritis from uric acid crystals. So again, the thing that I would recommend they do for that is threefold. One, use the digestive enzymes. Two, use the heart algae and minimum 4 capsules a day of that. Because what heart algae does is it's going to slow the formation of a uric acid purine, which is a slimy green liquid. It's going to slow that whole transition from that slimy green liquid byproduct of protein digestion into an actual oxidized piece of glass or crystal form. It significantly slows that way down. The enzymes will actually break down the uric acid that you have. Now, again, we're talking months and maybe a year. We're not talking weeks. That's just a BS conversation for somebody else to have, not me. And but as you build up enzymes that are not being used up for your food to digest, always remember uric acid is a byproduct of protein. So it actually is a byproduct. It is a food, just in a hardened oxidized form. And we used to have this on a video from a company called HTN. We could actually show on that video where my enzyme formula is actually dissolving the uric acid. You could actually see it as it was dissolving. It would literally dissolve it from that solid, shiny, goldish, greenish colored piece of glass. You can literally see the piece of glass just start to go down to next to, and finally went away to nothing. You couldn't even see it on the screen. And that whole process took less than 20 minutes. But there's so much uric acid and so deep into people's tissues, it's going to take you months and months to really get that all broken up and cleaned out. And remember, you have to have extra enzymes beyond what you're actually using up for your digestion of your meal every day. So that takes months and months to build that active enzyme up in the body. So there definitely is help. You can prevent it. You can reverse it. You don't need that allopurinol drug that they have to inhibit your production of protease enzymes. That's how the medical community gets rid of really bad gout in your toes and your feet and stuff. They inhibit your protease enzymes from breaking down proteins. So you can't digest proteins, therefore you can't make uric acid to oxidize. But your body is just going to go to fat, and you're going to have all kinds of coronary disease with long-term side effects from that kind of crap and that kind of thinking. You know, do the digestion. Just make sure that the digestion occurs quicker than what your body is. See, that the medical community pays no attention to the problem as to why uric acid is oxidizing. The only reason that byproduct, uric acid purine, is oxidizing in the human body is because the digestive process of meat, flesh, proteins, if you're over the age of 40 years old, can take upwards of 12, 18, 24, 32 hours just for a single meal. And we know that it takes that long because we can do the corn test. The bowels from that meal aren't even eliminated for 3-4 days later. So there's the problem. Because your body just doesn't produce enough enzymes anymore. Well, we can solve that problem. We got capsule enzymes. Put more enzymes back in the digestive process. That speeds up the digestion, which speeds up the production as well as the release of uric acid purine, but also speeds up the elimination because it's fully digested faster. And then the antioxidants, the heart algae, that will significantly slow it down to where it's in the body for days without actually starting to solidify. And should never be in the body for days. You should be able to easily eliminate a meal, even muscle tissue protein, within 10 to 12 hours. So you eat it in the morning, eat it in the afternoon, or even in the evening, you should be eliminating it the next morning. And we can do all of that with this product line. So that's the key to preventing as well as getting rid of a lot of these different arthritic conditions and stuff. That makes sense to you? Are you there?
Yes, Ron, we thank you very much for
Okay.
that one. That was a real good, I'm glad it wasn't lengthy. Education
yeah,
as
yeah.
always.
Yeah. Well, it's the nuts and the bolts, and I always try to explain in great detail the process so everybody can kind of grab onto the pieces they understand. It makes sense to them. So, but it is
Absolutely.
preventable. Absolutely. Yeah. But
Absolutely.
yeah, anytime you want to test for those achy pains and all of those stuff, just lift your chin and, like I said, move real slowly to the left, to the right. Do that 2-3 times and listen, because you'll always hear that crunch, crunch, grinding. And I mean, you can just visualize it. It's like, oh crap, listen to that, man. It's real. I got a lot of it, you know. And I used to have a lot of that when I was bodybuilding, but I don't even have any of that today after I stopped taking in all that protein and stuff. So, and I finally figured out the way to prevent a lot of that stiffness in the joints and stuff. Take the hard algae, and I was taking 4 to 6 of those every day, and it literally went away after about a month and a half, and I never had it for many, many years. And I don't have any of it today because I did that right along with all you guys today when I was doing that little bit of silence there. So, yeah, you can keep it away, but most people are going to experience gouty arthritis before they'll ever experience osteo or penial or some of the other different arthritic forms. Rheumatoid, that's autoimmune disorder. Like I said, but most people will experience that kind of a gouty arthritis, that uric acid issue. So that's the way you get rid of that. Anybody else got any questions, comments for the call tonight? Anybody? Dover, do you have anything that you would like to close with?
No, great call as always, and really, I hope people really get it, because I know as much as you teach and you educate and you share, Ron, what makes these calls a lot of times is really the questions that are asked, because all of us learn so much, and again, based on the questions tonight, I learned so much. So I appreciate everyone's questions, and Ron, appreciate everything you do, and we'll be back next week. Great call.
All right. Yeah. Likewise, I appreciate you being on here each and every week and contributing to the calls as well. So everybody's contribution really counts and matters in each and every week that we do this. So I appreciate everybody.
All right, everyone, take care. We'll see you next week. We'll have an announcement about the summer schedule, and we'll make sure we get that on the web as well. This call will be reposted on enriching-gifts.com. enriching-gifts.com. Take care, everybody. Have a great night.
Thanks much. Have a great
Have
night.
a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Ron. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks much, Ron. Thanks everyone for the questions.